Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Drudels Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about Unreal Engine and everything that you need to know about it. I have done a lot of digging, a lot of diving, and been able to grab an insane amount of information, more than I even expected to grab, so that you guys can have the best idea on what we are working with when Unreal Engine is released into the game. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and I'll be explaining it all in today's video. As always, please consider smashing today's subscribe button. It really helps out the channel a lot, especially for the amount of time and effort I put into these videos. It takes a lot of time to make sure that I'm fact-checked and correct on my information, but as you guys know, I've been pretty spot on this year so far. So, in general, there's a lot to break into, a lot to dive into, and I'm going to be letting you know all of it. So with that being said, well, yeah, let's get right into it. Starting off, let's make our way over to Illustrator. And the reason why is this. I have gotten a huge amount of information from subscribers, insider information, and everything else like that. I have not signed an NDA with Wargaming, therefore I can actually speak about all of this stuff. If you're unaware, all the other CCs, all the content creators that you like watching, Angel, Wotb Joe, they have signed CCs. In other words, they already know a lot of stuff. Not as much as I know, to be honest, but they do know a lot of stuff. And they're not allowed to talk about it because they've signed a contract that says they're not allowed to. But I did not sign that contract, so I'm allowed to talk about whatever I want here. I always find it interesting how, like, the CCs make a video on the trailer acting like, whoa, wow, this is really exciting, even though they already were briefed on the trailer beforehand. It's kind of weird, but either way, let's get straight into it. Let's start off with one of the most important ones that I think a lot of people want to know about, and that is the fact that Tier 7 is now the max tier in Blitz, or will be the max tier. We can actually take a look here at some gameplay, and you can see right at the top of the garage, or in the game, Tier 7 is the highest tier now. We can see the Leopard 1, the T110E4, XM66F, all Tier 10s are now Tier 7. And Wargaming has confirmed our suspicions, as we can see right here. Tier 7 is max. With time, there can be more tiers if the game requires it. Now, that is interesting. With the fact that Wargaming has said that also there can be more tiers if the game requires it. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've always considered Tier 10 to be the max tier, and maybe if Wargaming wants to make a game mode, you know, we have Gravity out right now, and if they want to add game modes where maybe there's modern tanks, I'm accepting of that. But I don't know exactly how I feel about modern tanks, Cold War vehicles being added into Blitz just yet. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm quite confident that at some point in the future, we will be seeing modern tanks being added into Blitz. It's pretty expected by the response that we have there from Wargaming themselves. Right now, Tier 1 through 3 exist in the game, obviously. These tanks will not exist at all. Well, they will. I will explain that in a little bit more depth in just a moment. But in general, you will not be able to play Tiers 1, 2, and 3 in games anymore. These vehicles will not exist in the normal matchmaking. Personally, I don't have problems with that. Once again, there are going to be people that complain, but I don't have problems with this. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, the low-tier vehicles and the grind in general is very boring. Nobody wants to play an M3 Stuart, a T2 Light, a Panzer 38H. They're all boring. So by Wargaming systematically removing these tiers and making Tier 4 the new Tier 1, you actually start off with pretty exciting vehicles, to be entirely honest. You start off with vehicles that have decent guns, that have a little bit more alpha and a little bit more diversity. And then you make your way up to Tier 5 through 7. So this is what the game's going to look like. There's going to be 4 tiers in the game. And it is interesting that we're obviously going to be losing a lot of the rest of the game, you know, but really, you're only missing out on the super low tiers. So for most of us, it's not going to make much of a difference. It's just weird. I don't know why they're making it so that Tier 4 is now Tier 1. What they should have done is they should have made it so that it was Tier 1 through 4. But I don't know. It starts off at Tier 4. It's kind of weird. We'll see if they end up changing that designation in the future. But the reason Tier 1 through 3 are still going to exist is if we make our way back over here, we can see that it says low tier tanks will be in your base garage, and they'll be grouped into vintage sets. A few months after the update, we will release a separate vintage game mode where you'll be able to play with those vehicles. So yes, you will be able to still use tier 1 through 3, they just won't be accessible in normal gameplay, which is rather interesting. Personally, I don't think this really affects me. I don't play tiers 1 through 3. You can let me know your personal feelings on that in the comments, but this personally doesn't really affect me too much. So there's really not much to talk about there when it comes to that actually being brought into the game. Also, I'm going to delete the messages that I've read. That way, I don't accidentally stumble upon them again. So yes, we have a lot of changes just alone there. But it gets even crazier. So as we can see here, there are sets in the game. I've explained this a little bit before on live stream, but essentially we can see unlock tanks in role-based sets. This here is a set. You will need 5 keys to unlock it, and then you will be able to unlock these vehicles. Now we can see that there's premium tanks in the sets. T25, Stritzvon 74A2, and even a Stritzvon 81 right here. Well, these premiums you will still have to spend gold to get your hands on. You can unlock the ability to purchase them in the set, but you will still need to spend gold to buy the vehicles. So any set that has premium tanks in them, like the Super Hellcat, the Enforcer, the T67, VK3001H, DW2, Panzer 34, VK4503, and the E75 TS, you will have to spend money on these premiums. So, well, actually, these are collectors, as we can see. But in general, you will have to spend money on these vehicles to get them, which is interesting. We'll have to see exactly how that works. But in terms of the tech trees, right now in Blitz, we obviously have tech trees, right? We have the ability to grind through the British nation, through the Japanese nation, through the Chinese nation. This will not be the thing in the next update. There will not be tech trees in the way that we know them. There will no longer be nation-based classing. I mean, yes, we can still see that, like, in the video, there are vehicles that are still kind of nation-based. Like, this is all German vehicles here, and we can see that these are all going to be, well, and actually, this is a great example. We can see that this is the T25. This is a German Tier 5, and yet these are Swedish vehicles. So, while there are going to be, you know, these are all American vehicles, while there are going to be similarities in the sets, when it comes to the actual tanks, it's no longer tech tree based. It is no longer this nation, this nation, this nation. It is going to be based off of a bunch of different sets. And Wargaming has confirmed there is going to be an insane amount of sets. We can see what Alexandra said. I'll explain the sets system shortly. In Tier 10 right now, equals Tier 7 in the next update, the tanks are united by the lore, gameplay, and design, and packed in the set. There are 80 plus sets. And in the set, there might be both premium and researchable tanks. If you have a researchable tank in the garage now, it will unlock in the set. So what that means is, let's say you have researched, I don't know, a WZ-132, but you never bought it. Well, that vehicle will be researched in the set, but you will still have to buy the vehicle with credits. So, yeah, it's going to be basically like what we have now in that regard. The tanks that you have now in the garage will be transferred and available for you in-game. So, essentially, the way that this is working is Wargaming is doing tank-based sets. Now, to what I'm aware, because I talked to a friend, you are going to be able to search vehicles. So what that means is actually it's going to be quite nice in the fact that if I'm trying to find an E75 TS, I can just press the enter key and then search for the E75 TS, and I ideally should be able to find it pretty easily. That's what I'm hoping. Apparently, the actual set design is very good. That's what I've been told from insider sources. So I'm not going to complain about the sets. I'm not going to hate it until I try it. It's going to be basically just a different version of grinding that we currently have now. So we'll have to see exactly what happens. What does actually look nice, one thing I will say that I'm liking, is that there is a lot of premium tanks and collectors that you're able to unlock and purchase. Right now, the only way to buy premiums and vehicles in general is by waiting for them to hit the store. But if Wargaming has a bunch of sets available, it means that you are going to have the ability to purchase these tanks at any time. which is quite nice, and I'm actually quite excited for that. So definitely something I should mention. Now, here's something that a lot of people have been talking about. This is by far the most important one, and that is commanders. Commanders are going to be replacing the crew skill system. So right now in Blitz, we have this tab, the crew skill tab. A lot of us have spent years upon years of grinding and earning experience for the crew skills. We can see I have all of mine trained here, just like I have all of them trained in my main account. You can see how much XP you need, like 1.1 million crew XP. That is insane. And some of these buffs are absolutely huge. Precision fire, when you pen 3 shots in a row, will give you a 35% chance of dealing maximum damage in the next shot. That alone is a huge one. We also have bonuses to camouflage. For example, this increases tank concealment by 21%. So there's a lot here. These are going to be removed from the game, and in their placement, we have commanders. We can see the commanders if we scroll. I'm not exactly sure where the commanders are. Right here. So we can see one of the commanders. This is Olivia Vasquez. She is for heavy tanks only. You can assign her to specific tanks. So you can choose who you've assigned which tanks to, which is actually quite nice, actually. It's kind of nice in that regard. So I can have different commanders for different tanks. Hopefully you can assign an unlimited amount of commanders to unlimited tanks. If they make it so you can only assign Olivia to like 5 vehicles, that'll be really annoying to swap them in and out. But as we can see, there are abilities. So Iron Will increases tanks' hit points by 6.5%. And then we also have Guerrilla Tactics. All allies, including players, within a 50-meter radius of a player's tank receive 4% higher accuracy and movement speed. Now here's the thing. You can see that there's 1 bar at the top here, right? See that 1 bar? These are all upgrades. So this skill gets even more efficient as you get the unlocks. So you might be able to get in total, if this, let's say, increases by 0.5% on tank's HP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you might be able to get 11 to 12% extra hit points on your tank by training this skill. And then Guerrilla Tactics, to what I've been told, will go up to a maximum of around 30% higher accuracy, which is insane on move, and we might be getting a big movement speed buff as well. So in general, these crew skills are going to be insane, and I think they're a little too insane right now. My friend, who does have inside information, agrees. Also, I should mention now, no, this is actually not Flossie. I know some of you might be thinking, oh, Flossie told Droodles inside information. No, he did not. Flossie doesn't want to lose his CC. He doesn't want to lose his NDA access. It's not Flossie. So I want to make that very clear right now. With that being said, these crew skills are apparently going to be really, really stupid. The Tank Destroyer crew skill, which we haven't seen yet from Wargaming, but I have been told about, will give you up to a 30% concealment boost. Now, we already have, if we take a look at a vehicle in our Blitz garage, right? Let's say, for example, I don't know, a 113 GFT. This vehicle has 71% camo currently. Now, crew skills will increase your tank's concealment by 20%. As we can see, increases tank concealment by 21%. So with the way that the crew skill is going to work with the Unreal Engine update, it'll be about a 9% maybe increase, which means that we might be looking at tank destroyers that are sitting upwards of 85 to 90% camo. Yes, you heard that right. It's incredibly dumb, and I hope that this is reworked. It probably will be, but that is incredibly stupid. There's also going to be a light tank one. Essentially, we're going to have commanders for every single tank class, but there's also going to be commanders which are available for every tank class. We can actually see one of the commanders here is the Mad Games guy. If you've ever, played Mad Games, or you've ever watched Wargaming's trailers with the Mad Games tanks, that is him right there. But we can see another commander. This is Duncan. This is an any tank class commander. And he has 2 different abilities. He has Rapid Fire, which increases rate of fire by 3%, and then Triple Impact. Every 3rd shot increases damage dealt by 8%. That buff goes up to an 18% buff. Which means that you can not only get a max roll, but then get a 15% increase on that max roll. And it's every 3rd shot. Now, I'm not sure if that's 3 pens or just boom, boom, boom. Oh, I missed one of them. I still get that buff. But what that means is that with an 18% damage boost, you can take a vehicle like a 183, for example, right? A 183. And that means you'll be able to deal almost 20% more damage. So your average damage goes from 950 to like 1090. But it's not just that. You can still get a high roll. So let's say you max roll. A max roll with a 183 is like 1160 or something wild with just an AP shell. You can then add on an additional 18%, which means an FE2 and 5B 183 with AP next update might be able to roll 13 to 1400 damage with Duncan here. Yeah, think about that for a second. That's with AP. You could load high explosive and literally one-shot certain tier 10s. Yeah, this is even more dangerous when you realize vehicles like the Waffenträger Alpha U100 exist with a 570 alpha gun. The Waffenträger's final shell might roll upwards of 700 damage. Yeah, that's a little insane. And with the rapid fire, you're going to get a massive reload boost. I think this boost might go up to like 10, 15, maybe even 20%, depending on how much each level unlocks here. So again, some incredibly huge changes. I don't know how I feel about these. We're going to have to see how these actually affect the game. I like the fact they are giving us diversity. You can assign these to any tank you want, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about extra damage, rapid fire. As I told my friend, this is just speeding up the turbo battles that we already have. Right now, games are already incredibly short, and this is just giving you more DPM and more rate of fire. Now, yeah, the extra HP might be nice on certain tanks, but still, this is going to be interesting. I don't know exactly how I feel about this yet. Now, we can see that you can also upgrade your commanders right up at the top. 90,000 crew XP. We can see that's the crew XP icon, so 90,000 crew XP, and you can see right there it increases your level on your reload. So in total, there's going to be a lot of upgrades. It looks like each one of these stages is an increased upgrade. We're going to have to see what happens here, but yes, we're going to expect commanders to have some huge changes and buffs for your tank's capabilities. Light tanks are going to have them. Medium tanks are going to have them. One of the medium tank's capabilities is that the lower in health you get, the faster your tank goes. Up to a 15 kilometer per hour boost. So you can take a vehicle like a Leopard 1, and if you get down to, let's say, 200 health in your Leopard, you might be driving upwards of 90 kilometers per hour. Yes, you heard that right. In general, we got a lot of information when it comes to these commanders, and we're going to have to see what happens here. I'm excited for them. I'm actually not the biggest negative Nancy when it comes to the commanders, but I really hope Wargaming doesn't screw this up. Because if they do, it's not going to be good for the game. Essentially, what Wargaming's doing here is they are making it so that instead of equipment, you basically just have commanders. Now, equipment is still going to be in the game. I should mention that now. Calibrated shells, gun rammer, all of that is staying in Blitz. But what they're doing here is they're making it so that you also basically have choice on how you want your tank to be played. Interesting. Very, very interesting when it comes to the commanders and everything else like that. When it comes to the garage, we can see it's still pretty similar. Set is going to be basically your tech trees, and then upgrades are going to be obviously your modules, and then we have style, and style is going to be your camouflage. All the camos that we currently have in the game are most likely going to stay in the next version of the game. We can take a look at the top. We can still see that the crew skills, the missions, and most of the actual UI is staying the same when it comes to buttons. There's also levels. Your player is going to level up. Now, I have a feeling that the more battles we already have played, the higher our level is going to be when the update is released. So because my account has 95,000 games on it, we can expect that my level is going to be quite high, which will be interesting. We can also see battle passes are going to last a very long time, and maps might even be themed towards these battle passes. We can see in the background here, there's like this giant meteor crater thing, and that is also in the maps. So, kind of cool. Overall, I'm not hating the information I've talked about so far, but let's make our way back over to Illustrator, and let's break into some of these other things, right? So we can see here, commanders are replacing crew perks. There will be different commanders. You will get a few from the very beginning. There are different types of commanders. Ones can be installed to every tank, another for heavy tanks, medium tanks, tank destroyers, and they have perks, which we've already gone over. Let's get rid of that. Free XP is going to be changed. Free XP is now data cards. These are essentially packs of set XP. I know that's kind of goofy sounding, but essentially, remember we were talking about sets? Sets are these things right here. Basically, you're going to now have XP that you can use on the sets. Basically free experience. So yeah, something I should mention right there. So it says free XP is now data cards. These are essentially packs of set XP, free XP, that you can use to instantly boost the level of any set you choose. So in other words, free XP. They just made it more complicated. Okay. What else do we have here? We already talked about this. Oh, by the way, Wargaming is going to be streaming on January 23rd, and they're going to explain why they've gone that way. I already know why they're going this way. They're trying to make the game more appealing to younger audiences. It's not really that hard to figure out. Okay, so what else do we have here? We got some more information to break into. There's a lot left to honestly talk about here. So let's start off with Wargaming Official. Role-based sets, so no more tech trees. Sets will be a smart replacement for tech trees. It is more logical to combine tanks by gameplay style. Moreover, tech trees just couldn't keep up with as many tanks as we have in the game. Also, premium and collector tanks don't fit tech trees naturally. Personally, I don't know about that. I think that tech trees are still very, very easy and basic to understand. But I guess what Wargaming is saying is that they want it to be easier to grind for certain tank types. I don't know. I think tech trees should... we'll have to see. I'm very opinionated. Okay. Will I have to grind from scratch because I have maxed crew? No. So good news is that you're not going to have to start crew grinding from beginning if you have 90,000 games like me or all of your crew skills are trained. Hopefully they will all be trained and you will have all the crew members when you play the game. Now here's something which is interesting, right? Here's a problem which my brainer has thonkered. Commanders might cost money. That's a problem. If commanders are giving you big boosts, I mean, we just saw some of the commanders are giving you damage increase, DPM increase, camo, speed. It would not surprise me if Wargaming started selling commanders. And if they do that, oh boy, I'm not going to be very happy. Putting overpowered mechanics behind a paywall sounds very stupid. And let's hope they don't do that. Let's hope that commanders are free for everyone. All right. Also, I talked about this a little bit in my previous video. You need to restore your collectors. You need to restore your premiums. If you sell them or you have a bunch, let's say you have 180 tanks you've sold, well, you're going to not be able to get them back unless they hit the store again or they're in sets and you're going to have to purchase them for XYZ amount of gold. Okay, with that being said, we now have only the information from the World of Tanks Reddit, right? The World of Tanks Reddit, this information was on the Russian-speaking Discord provided by developers. So this is basically confirmed, right? So let's see what we're working with. Voice chat is not worth waiting for. Yeah, I agree. We don't need voice chat in Blitz. That would be incredibly cringe. Newcomers will start with a set of new tanks. Okay. Ranks may be redesigned. All right. Ranks as in oh, well, I guess my game... They're talking about ranks as in the leveling system that exists in Blitz right now. The ranks are stupid. You know, skilled players don't give a flying fork about ranks. In fact, I don't think really anybody cares about ranks. It's one of the biggest disasters ever. These are ranks here. Nobody cares about them. They're a waste of time. They're a waste of credits. There's literally no reason to do them. Yeah, don't bother with ranks. And it looks like they agree. They may be redesigned. Mirage and Lost Temple will return, but later than release. Okay, well, kind of cool. Lost Temple's returning. And Mirage, both very cool maps. New Himmelsdorf is not ready yet, even on the new engine. Okay, so Mirage, Lost Temple, and Himmelsdorf will not be available on day one or even the first couple months on the first release. There will be no nerfs and changes upon release. That's huge. I'm very glad to hear that. It means that we're not going to be seeing changes. Somebody commented on my video that, oh, the 57 Heavy is a 0.2 second intro clip. No, that's not possible. There's going to be no nerfs. Crews are going to be replaced with commanders, which means, yes, changes will be happening due to the commanders themselves, but no, there will not be nerfs. On the test will be about 15 maps. The number of maps on release is still unknown. Okay, so 15 maps is a decent amount. Hopefully, Wargaming rebalances some of the maps. Port Bay is dookie balls, as we know. Dead Rail is bad. I really hope they redesign Dead Rail a bit. Customization will be changed. Not sure exactly what that means. New camos or something. We'll have to find out. The attachment on the tanks will be able to be moved. That's really cool. So that means instead of attachments being set to fixed positions, you're now able to put Frosty the Tank Man wherever you want, which is actually sweet. No new collaborations are planned between now and Unreal Engine 5. Seasons will be added later than the release, obviously. Containers will remain. Animations for them will be like the locked ones now. Okay, so obviously containers are going to remain, guys. What a surprise! Okay, stream from the developers next week. We've already confirmed that. API and mods are not a priority. There will be no support for this. Uh-oh. All right, so let me explain this, right? What is the API? The Wargaming API is how we stat track. So, for example, Blitz Stars, where you may be looking at your stats, that's done through the Wargaming API. In other words, you might be expecting to have no more Blitz Stars, no more stat tracking websites at all. That's a little disappointing. Not only that, but I've also talked to insiders. Once again, win rate will not be a thing. You will not have win rate on your account. That's at least what I've been told so far. Maybe Wargaming will decide to roll that back, but win rate will not be a thing on your account. However, damage and other stats still may be available, but win rate will not exist. I don't know how I feel about that. Win rate's like the whole point of playing Blitz. If you're not winning, why are you playing? We'll see. We'll see. Okay. It will be impossible to sell tanks. That's an interesting one. Does that mean collectors as well? We know that tank recovery will no longer be available. That right there. So the current system that we have that allows you to recover tanks that you've sold, that's not going to be available next update. I obviously disagree with that, but it will be impossible to sell tanks. Now that's interesting. That's very interesting. We'll have to see if that actually ends up being rolled out. We'll find out in a few days when the open test is there. Tanks and resources will not disappear anywhere when the game moves. You will still have it all except containers. Yes, you heard that right. If you have any containers in your account, you should probably open them before, not probably, you should open them before Unreal comes out because you're going to lose access to those containers, okay? There will be no artillery. Thank God. Upgrading sets, new way of acquiring tanks will be more difficult than branches. So for people that were worried, oh my God, update 5.5 version 2 is coming to Blitz. They're removing all the low tiers. Good news is that the sets are going to be harder to research. So even though you're starting at tier 4, it's going to require more XP and playing to get to higher tiers, which is fine with me. And I think that's all right as it is. Okay. Not all modes will be on release. Okay. That's understandable. All right. What else do we have? All right, we already read that out. Did I already read all this one? Yeah, okay. We have graphics and other settings will become more flexible, and there will be no general chats, but chat with friends will remain. Yes. So what that means is that the way, no general chat. So there's just no chat. No, wait. General chat right now is global chat. They've changed the name. So you still will have team chat. So it's going to be basically the EU server. The NA server, there is no RU server. The NA server, the EU server, and Asia server will no longer have the ability to talk to enemies. Honestly, that's a good thing. I think that it's very toxic, so I'm completely fine with that. But I'm glad at least they're keeping some sort of chat in the game. You need to have a chat in a game, right? You got to be able to communicate with your teammates. All right, final one. Here we go. There may be a level 8 in the future, okay? Mac OS support will be there. Good. Free experience will be redesigned. The stats window will be changed. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Stats will be changed. I don't know how I feel about that. The release of the game on Unreal Engine 5 will not take place in the next 3 months. In other words, I would assume that 5 months is the window for when Unreal gets released. I would assume mid-year. Right now, it's January 17th. So we can expect, in my opinion, Unreal Engine to be released mid-year. So we'll see. 5 to 6 months. There will be voicing of commanders. Sounds will be redesigned. Yes, apparently commanders are going to have voices. So, like the GUP tanks, I wonder what's going to happen to them. Because, yeah, that'll be interesting. Current levels 1 through 3 will remain in separate sets, but will be rebalanced to play with each other after release. They will likely not be able to be released into battle at release, but will be saved on the account. And then finally, we have a very, very interesting one to be talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. Matchmaking with new players will not exist anymore. It says matchmaking with players from 0 to 5,000 battles, so-called noob MM, will be reworked or removed. Yes, you heard that right. It will be reworked or removed, which means that there's not going to be Noob MM anymore. You know why? I can tell you why, because skill-based matchmaking is coming back to Blitz. Yes. Did you guys like SBMM? Did you not like it? Well, it's coming back. I'll be making an entirely separate video talking about skill-based matchmaking, and that is a whole different bucket of water to break into. But yes, skill-based matchmaking will be in Blitz, which is why they're removing Noob MM, because it's going to match noobs against noobs, skilled players against skilled players. I don't know how I feel about that. Apparently, ratings is going to be reworked as well. Well, I guess we're going to find out, guys. So, a lot of information there has been broken into, right? A lot of information. Some of it good, some of it not so good. The commanders definitely need to be rebalanced. They are overpowered right now, and with the way the game is currently working, turbo battles and everything like that, we don't need the game to be faster. Second thing is that I don't know how I feel about skill-based matchmaking. This was a huge controversy in the past, and it's going to be an even bigger one in the future. When it comes to everything else, like the changing of tiers, I don't know why they just won't leave the tiers the way they are. I think they're trying to make the game easier to get into, more exciting for newer players, but also trying to make it still the same experience for people that are already, well-versed in Blitz. Apparently, the game is going to play the exact same way that we currently play it, which is the good news. Apparently, the games, the team structuring, and most of the gameplay that we have will be the same. However, there's going to be a lot of changes in the actual design of the maps, and obviously, when it comes to commanders. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've basically covered just about everything when it comes to Unreal Engine, and yeah, I mean, that's just about it. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.